Welcome to Courtside Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. Today, my guest is Carolyn Kyles, mother of Julius Randle of the New York Knicks. We've got a lot to cover, so sit back, relax, and let's get Carolyn on the show. So thank you, Carolyn. I am so blessed that you are here with me today, and we are about to learn all about your baby, Julius.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So let's start at the very beginning of his love for basketball. How was he introduced to the game?
He would always want a ball, like for a birthday present or a Christmas present. And he was just always like I say, throwing a ball around, and he just kind of clinged to the basketball because he would see the kids outside playing it all the time. And so he was just dribbling around the house all the time, like maybe at the age of 4. And I saw that he could kind of dribble really good by the time he was 5. And so I'm like, okay, I need to put this energy into something, let you use this. And he was always so much taller than all the kids in his class. So this is kindergarten. So I couldn't put him in a kindergarten grade to play ball. So I said, because, that wouldn't help him increase his, his ability. So
Right.
I played him up. I played him in first grade, wanted to play him in second grade, but they wouldn't allow it. And then it just kind of went from there.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love the fact that you as a mom recognized, like, wait a minute, my baby got some talent. He got some skills. I mean, we know that skills came from you, which we'll talk about a little later on. So,
Okay.
so what about organized basketball? Because now you said you recognize this talent at kindergarten.
Yeah.
So when did you start putting him in like organized basketball and stuff, like on teams and all
Okay.
that good stuff?
So his first team was like kind of like a YMCA team. It was in Richardson, and he played on that team for a couple of years. And then I saw he kind of outgrew that because he was starting and the kids were older than him. So it was a friend of his whose father and I would always argue at the barbershop. We ran into each other at the barbershop because his son was on a different team. And then we would play against him, and we were all talking about who was cheating, And then all of a sudden he was like, you put him on the team, with my son. Oh, you want him on the team with your son now. Okay. So he created a team. It was out of Mesquite, and he played on that for a little while. And then a really good friend of ours, who his son and Julius were good friends, started a team, and they did really well. And we played on that team for about a year. And then that's when Mr. Trout created the Texas Titan team.
Okay.
And Julius started playing on that team in the 5th grade. And we did a lot of traveling over the United States. And we were the talk because Mr. Trout would fly us in private planes everywhere we went. And we stayed in the best hotels. And they, we were in the newspapers and stuff. And they were like, he is spoiling these kids. This is not fair. Da, 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 da. But he had great intentions, with that, because he saw when he went to tournaments with his son on the team that they were on, parents that had money were able to take their kids to restaurants, stay in a nice place.
Right.
And some kids, the parents, they had to bring lunch, and they were sitting outside eating bag lunch. He said that he wanted to create a team with his sons that we were like a family.
Right.
That everybody stayed somewhere nice. Everybody had a meal together like a family.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best experiences ever. We still talk to Mr. Trout because we're family, and it never stopped.
That's beautiful because he created, like, everybody was equal.
Yes, exactly.
And that's nice because you don't want some kids to feel away because because their parents can't afford. And sometimes they just really can't.
Yes.
There's really nothing you can do. So it's nice that you have somebody that came along and said, you know what, I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your background is. We're all equal. We're one family. We're going to do, play together as one team. We're united and let's move forward. Love, love, love that.
Yes. And then his other vision was every kid that played on that team, he was going to highlight them and make sure everyone went to college. And that dream came to fruition. Everyone on Julius's team went to college. Either they went on a scholarship or a couple of kids went academic wise, because he didn't play with that. I didn't. Julius, no, I'd be at the school real quick if I'm on the computer and saw he didn't turn a paper in. I'm like, seriously? Oh, okay, let me call him. What's going on with this paper? And so that's amazing.
I don't think Julius wanted to hear on the intercom, Julius, your mama's in the office.
Nobody. Or walking outside. One day he was walking outside, coming, a group of them coming from lunch. And I was just coming to, the restaurant at the church there, and they saw me. And I said, why is he not in class? So I drove around. He looked like he was just like, he saw a ghost. Mom, I said, boy, I was just, want to say hi. He said, oh, okay, we was going to the gym. Coach wait for us at the gym. Juice, no, I didn't play about school.
That's right. Good for you. I love that story. So let's move forward to high school, to Prestonwood Christian. Yeah. Julius is a McDonald All-American, Jordan Brand Classic. So what was this time in high school like for you as mom?
Transferring him to Prestonwood was one of the best decisions that I made for him. Julius was a very smart kid. He was part of the Duke Tips. He aced the math. He's just brilliant in math. So Prestonwood provided an atmosphere where it pushed him to the next level to get that A. And several kids transferred to that school. He won state championship 3 years out of 4 there. And his senior year, that's the biggest year for all athletes. And something like that, November, he broke his foot. We were in a Thanksgiving tournament, and he came down, and he just wasn't walking right. And he kept looking over at me, and I knew something was wrong. And I told him, I said, go in the back. He wanted to try to go out there and play. That's the one thing about my son, is that he will play through pain, because he just don't want to feel like he's giving up on his team. And I told him, no, I said, you could barely walk. And so he had broke his foot, and that was devastating, because he was trying to make the McDonald's All-American Jordan Classic. And one of the rules of the McDonald's, they had to play a certain percentage of their year, schedule in order to make it. And it looked like it was just not going to happen, because he had to be in a boot for like 6 to 8 weeks. And he's calling up specialists and everything to see, okay, can I come back in 4 weeks? Just trying to get a doctor to say yes, so he could come back. And I'm like, this will make it worse than making it better. Right. But we were on phone calls, conference calls with the McDonald's, and they were like, okay, if he could come back at this certain time, and he looks as if he's at 100%, then we will still consider him and, let him in. And I think that was the second time in the history of the McDonald's All-American that, 12 players on each team, that they had a 25th player. And Julius was that 25th player, because he came back killing, hitting threes, doing Euro steps and everything, because he wanted, you worked, all these years for that moment. And then to have something like that happen and think it's going to get taken away from you, it was devastating for him.
Yeah, injuries. I mean, for a young guy, you know what I mean? All they want to do is play. So it's funny how they all of a sudden want to get involved with the doctors, with the healing process, and ask all these questions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you can't rush it.
Who are you on the phone with? He's finding phone numbers and stuff. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. And it's cute, because it really is so important to them. You know what I mean? Like, everything for them is just being able to get on the court and play.
Exactly. Yes.
So how did you keep him grounded with all the hype that surrounded him?
Being a single mom, I just kind of just stress things to them. Nothing was more important to me than my son and my daughter, and being there for them. If I couldn't do what I wanted to do with them, it wasn't done. And I kept him in church. Julius was a junior usher at church. And Julius had a dream. He wanted to be in the NBA. So that was the most important thing to him. And he knew he couldn't get to college unless he had good grades. Right. When he had other friends, going out to the parties that, some of the other kids were giving or something like that, Julius was in the gym. Julius only did 2 activities a year at Prestonwood. He went to the prom, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the prom. He thought about a girl he wanted to take. He'd ask her, and he went to the prom. After the prom, it was over with. He was back in the gym, and then homecoming. He was back in the gym. And after he did that, because he had a dream. And when you have a dream, you put forth the effort to make that happen. And I said, God knew, being a single parent, that I could only take so much.
Right.
Just being me. And he gave me 2 of the most wonderful kids, and especially my son, that they never gave me any trouble. And being on the Texas Titans, he had a lot of fathers on that team that, they were able to mentor him, that I could say something and they could say the exact same thing that I said, but it sounded different because it was coming from that man. So absolutely. I made sure that I surrounded him around great role models.
But it's good that he was surrounded around those great models that actually thought the way that you thought, right? Because then exactly. it gives like that validity to what mom is saying. You know what I mean? Like that, our boys listen to us to a certain extent, and then they're like, okay, wait a minute. And then they go and somebody else says it, and all of a sudden it's like gold. And I'm like, I said that yesterday. But
exactly. Because I would look at him and say, didn't I just say that? Yeah, I just said that, Julius.
He was like, no, you didn't. So let's talk about his college recruitment. Do you remember the first letter?
I have a bin in the garage because they're building, him and my daughter-in-law, Kendra, are building a home now. And, you save all of that stuff. And I know it's important, but at the time, he doesn't think that it is. Yeah. But now he does, since he have a son, And I kept all this stuff. And it's this gigantic bin that it's like thousands of letters. I don't know which one came in first, but it's just like tons of them there. And I'm saved them for him. And I said, when you guys finish this house, you come over here and get this bin and all these medals and stuff, and you take them over, to your house.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it was probably Baylor was the first team to recruit Julius. I didn't even know we were being recruited. The coach that was recruiting him was Paul Mills from Baylor. And I saw Paul at the game. He was always coming to the games. He was just smiling at me. And I thought he was someone's uncle or something that I haven't met yet. And I was like, why is this guy always smiling to me? And I went to one of the high school coaches. I was like, what's this guy? I was like, he's always at the games and he's waving at me and he's smiling. And the coach said, oh, that's old Paul Mills from Baylor. He's here looking at Julius. I said, we're being recruited? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, that was like 9th grade, I think, or 8th grade. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even know it. It was
that's the
something new to me.
She's like, whose uncle is this?
Yeah, we were being recruited and I had no clue.
You're reminding me of when my son got a bunch of letters too, and we had no idea. First of all, I haven't even heard of like 75% of these schools, like never. You know what I mean? So every time he would get a letter, I'd have to ask. Yeah. You know what I mean? Google wasn't hot then, so I had no idea. So I'd have to ask everybody, like, have you ever heard of the school? Or I would go on, go on. Watch them play. Like I would go on TV and I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Let me go see if they're playing today and let me see what this team is about. But you know how long that took? Because then I had to wait for a game. I'd have to wait and see.
We didn't have Instagram. Twitter was just kind of like starting a little bit then and stuff. So
I had none of that. So so no, there was no Twitter for me. I'm still bad at Twitter anyway. So Kevin's like 28, so I'm terrible at that. So anyhow.
I first joined Twitter because Julius was on something like the 16 and under USA team, and they went out of the country somewhere. And that was our form of communicating with each other and it not costing me anything. And so we would DM each other on Twitter and the coaches would contact me that way and stuff. And that's when I got on Twitter.
Amazing. Yeah, I looked the other day. I've been on Twitter, I think, since 2007, I think. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm as good as it today as I was back then. So
yeah. It's still a learning experience for me.
Yeah, I know. And now when I watch my son's games, a lot of fans would they would send me messages and I could read it, but that's it. It's gone. I can't find it again. So or I tweet stuff and can't find it. So
yeah.
Yes, I'm putting myself on blast, but whatever. So
that's okay.
So yeah, that's it. You used to play NCAA ball for the University of Texas. So although the process may have been slightly different, how were you able to use your past experience to assist Julius to find the right school where he can both get a great education and offer the best basketball program?
Well, I actually went to the University of Texas in Arlington.
Yes.
And just talked to Julius about things. You know, I liked basketball, but Julius loved basketball. Yeah. So the thing we needed to look at was he wanted to go to the NBA. And what was his best situation? What school could offer him the best situation of getting there as quick as possible? What coach could showcase him the best? And it all came down to when he, was deciding on what school. It was Florida, Kentucky, Texas, and I can't remember the other one. And Cal is known for producing players, one and done, getting there as quick as possible, accomplishing their dreams. And it was like a no-brainer. We did the homeschool. North Carolina was the other school. Coach Williams. I mean, Coach Williams is like a dad. I loved talking to him. He had just this calm feeling, like you're talking to your granddad. So it was either him and the coach, Billy Donovan, was at Florida then.
Yes.
And so it was out of those three. And we just felt like Cal could push him within those, few months. What is it? They're there like 8 months maybe, and showcase his talent and, get him to where he wanted to be, where he is now. And, it was one of the great experiences. Coach Cal is hard. And we explained to him, high school and summer ball is easy. When you get to college, you're going to hear some words you've never heard before. So you better make sure you have tough skin. And it's only because they're trying to get you to where you want to go, where you're going to hear even worse words. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was pretty much it. My mom, she passed away last year. She used to say she was Julius's first coach because whenever I had to go out of town for work, I would drive down to Southeast Texas and pick her up, 5-hour drive, and bring her up back up here. She would keep the kids, and he would wake her up first thing in the morning. Come on, Granny, let's go outside. I need you to pass me the ball. And so she'd be out there passing him the ball and, just helping him, as a young kid. And then I would always take him to the rec. And, when he was shorter than me, able to teach him some things. And one day he was so mad because I was throwing hook shots. It was his sister and I against him, his best friend. And I was throwing hook shots on him. We was beating them and stuff. And so I threw the ball to his sister and he was so mad that we were beating them that he went and he blocked her shot and knocked her down. And he was just huffing and puffing. I was like, Julius, really? What is wrong with you? I don't like to lose. I was like, but that's your sister. That's your sister. And I just had to end the game. And I would always tell him, he said, Mom, when am I going to be as tall as you? Because he was always reaching up to me. And I said, one day you're going to be taller than me. Let's just, hold on and stuff. And it's just amazing how time can pass. And I'm looking up at him now,
Yeah. Aw, I love that. And it
Mhm.
seems like you were always able to share his entire basketball experience with him. So I just
Yes.
love that story. I love it, love it.
Yeah, that's the one great thing about being on the Texas Titan during that period of fifth grade to his senior year. Mr. Trout provided, the private plane. All the parents could come to the games.
Right.
All the parents stayed at the hotel, paid for with the kids. The greatest experience ever because when, normal teams, the parents are trying to budget. You're trying to
Mm-hmm.
raise money to get these kids to these tournaments everywhere to get them showcased. And
Absolutely.
then you come back home. Okay, I got this bill to pay. And you've paid all this other stuff while you're on this tournament.
Yeah.
And so that was a great blessing. Again, I just feel like it was God just every step of the way looking out for us, getting Julius to his dream.
Oh, absolutely. I love when parents come together and see the vision, right? And
Yeah.
for us, before my son went to the US, I mean, we grew up in Canada, right? So he played
Mhm.
AAU. And for us as parents, we had to raise that money, but it's like we had to raise twice as much because of the exchange.
Yes.
So if our tournament
Yes.
was 1,200 US, you know what I mean? That's a lot more that we had to raise. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just laugh because we used to tell the kids, okay, you have to go to the grocery stores and bag. Oh my God. And
Yeah.
people in the stories be scared because you have these 6'7" boys at the
Yeah. Yeah.
end, at the end of all the of all where the registers were. And I'll never forget. They said to Kim, you know what? Go outside and ask people if they're willing to donate. And he's like, okay. So he went with another player. And people were walking by and he's literally, you want to give us any money?
Oh.
And this lady's like, I do not. And he's like, okay. He didn't care. He had a, oh.
Hey, we were doing what we had to do at that time
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get our
yeah. So
kids
needless
where
to
they
say,
need to be.
that's right. Needless to say, the parents had to go because yeah, people were scared of these tall trees that were standing there trying to beg these people for money. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so at Kentucky,
Hmm.
were you at that national championship game in 2014 where they played UConn?
It was here in Dallas.
Oh,
And Julius,
yes.
actually, I think he did a tweet like in the ninth grade. It was, he said, my dream is to play in this tournament because it's going to be in Dallas.
Yeah.
And how great is that? They had a little rocky start in Kentucky that year, and we didn't know how it was going to go. And then it's kind of like that when it says, when God shows up, he shows out. And they were winning these games, and the Harrison twins, one of them would hit a big shot right at the end, and we're winning by 1, 2, or 3. And it was amazing. We had all the guys and the family over for dinner, and I still talk about that game now, because I created a little jury box for Julius with all his rings, McDonald's, AAU championship, high school. And that ring at first, Julius, it was a runner up. And he threw it in the back of his car. And his fiance at that time, now wife, Kendra, she was cleaning out his trunk of the car and she saw that ring. And she was like, Julius just threw this ring in the back. You want me to send it to you? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't want that. But now it's important to him that, he can show it to his son. But he was so disappointed. And we all were. We lost by 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm remembering this. I'm saying 6 points because I have not forgotten that game. It was right there. It was right there. And you think about that game, just like I'm sure your son does now, that when they lose like by 1 or 2 or 3 points, you think about what I could have done better.
Yeah.
What if I would have made this shot, And I just say all the time with things in life, I was like, God is just so funny. He's forgiving and stuff. But, when we make mistakes, he just tell us to have wisdom, learn from it, and try hard and do better the next time moving forward. I was like, why he just can't give us do-overs? Why we can't just go back and do stuff over again and make it different? That was a heartbreaker.
I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, you're sitting there, you're watching this game, you're stressed. I mean, what was going through your mind? I mean, you're sitting there amongst 70,000 fans. Like,
Yes.
what was
Yes.
Carolyn thinking?
he always knows where I'm sitting in the stands, and all the family was right there, and he's looking over at me, and you're looking at the clock. Okay, we're behind by 4, there's still a chance, then behind by 8 or whatever, then it's just 6 points, and the time is just going by, and it's like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, give us a miracle like you've have done all these past games where somebody hit these big shots right at the end, and we won. And then it was just like, you see, like it's seconds, and I'm like, oh my God, it's about to be over. We're about to lose.
Yeah.
But the great thing is we can take away from that is that, like I said, they were kind of, other teams and people were laughing at Kentucky because Cal had recruited all these 5-star players. Yeah. And everybody was talking about, okay, they're going to win it. And then, they were having a little shaky season at first and losing and stuff. So they were laughing at us. Okay, I got all these 5 stars and they're not doing anything, they're losing. And I said, you know what? All of them that laughed at us, they were at home watching us on that big stage.
That's right.
We didn't win it, but they did neither. We got way farther than they did.
That's right. At least you had that opportunity to be there that day playing that game. So they
yes.
can laugh all they want, right? So,
yes.
So Julius decided to declare in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
He was athletically ready for the possibility of moving to the next step. But in your opinion, was he mentally ready to play in the NBA, where the expectations are much higher, the pressure is so different, and the players have way more experience?
I think he thought he was ready. Physically, he was. But you got to think, he was just now turning 19.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a kid.
Right.
He was just now at Kentucky doing his own laundry. And then I had a laundry, company picking up his laundry once the season started. There's still so much things that he needs to learn about now being a grown-up. Yeah, you have the agent, you have the financial advisor, but everyday life, walking that and knowing the things that you need to do to prepare yourself and your body, I don't think he had any clue.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a master at it now with the things that he does to prepare his body. The one person that was there to help him try to figure things out, was Kobe. Kobe was his idol.
Yeah.
Whenever we went to those games, whenever we went to the games at the Mavericks, Mr. Trout had a suite there, and the boys would go down taking turns sitting courtside to watch the teams. But whenever the Mavericks played the Lakers, Julius got to sit courtside the whole game.
Wow.
And because the Lakers was his favorite team and Kobe was his idol.
Yeah.
One time he was walking, it was halftime, and he was walking back to his seat, and he said, "Hey, Kobe." And Kobe walked over to him and gave him a high five. And when he got back to the suite, he was like, "Mom, did you see that? Kobe gave me a high five. I'm never washing this hand again. I'm like, okay, Julie." And I don't think I ever, told that story to Kobe. He would have got a crack, just laughed about it. But he helped Julius try to figure out a lot of things. And, your parents tell you things, but you don't listen.
Yeah.
And it was like, when you get older, when you have your kids, you're going to realize what I'm saying. And so he heard Kobe, but now it means so much more. Now that he's not here, he can hear him still and remember the things that he told him about. Okay, your feet, you need to go get stuff done to your feet all the time. You need to get treatment after every game. You need to meditate, go to the gym, put up shots. That's one of the things he was talking about the other day when he did an interview about when he came to Dallas. He thought he was getting ready to hang out with family. And Kobe said, "No, we're getting ready to go to the gym." And that's something Kobe did before every game. When they landed, he wasn't going to the hotel. He had them to find a gym, and he was there putting up shots. And that's something Julius is doing now. It probably wasn't something he was doing his first year. He broke his leg his first year. So he was out the whole season. Probably not his second year, but slowly he figured it out of what he needed to do and remembered all those voices that were speaking to him, like Kobe and, maybe some other people that he takes with him now and making him the player that he is today.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so touching to hear that. It really, truly is.
I was about to cry, so I had to take a minute.
That's all right.
I'm sure for everyone, it's still a tender moment.
For sure, and it always will be.
Yeah.
And, he stood for so much,
Mm-hmm.
on the court and off the court, and so many people looked up to him, and
Yeah.
still do. Like
Yeah.
Mamba mentality is always going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Like he set the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody is just there trying to follow it, because at the end of the day, it meant so much and means so much to a lot of players.
Yeah. The first year Kobe had retired, Julius worked out with him a lot, and all he had to do, he said, just call me. And he would call Kobe. Kobe picked up the phone. He said, hey, I need you to work me out, and Kobe would say something like, okay, be at my house at 5:00. Julius said, that evening? No, 5:00 in the morning. And where do they live, in Calabasas somewhere? So it was going to be a long drive. And so Julius was like setting his alarm clock and trying to think about the traffic, because don't get there late.
Yeah.
No, don't get there late on Kobe.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go back to draft night.
Okay.
Give us the full details from the preparations to the end of the night.
Preparations. His barber here in Dallas, and he still uses him now. In Kaiden, he gave Kaiden his first haircut, and that is the only barber Kendra would let touch Kaiden's hair. If they have to fly him into New York or they're down here. So I knew Julius. I said, Travis. I said, hey, are you going to come to New York for the draft? He was like, yeah. I said, great. I said, well, you're going to have to come to the hotel and cut Julius's hair. I said, he's not even thinking about this. And I said, I went on and paid him, the money for doing this. So he had already got his suit, and we were eating dinner, and we're going to meetings, meeting other parents, and everybody, have their questions, talking to Robin Paul. She's the best. And she was on the panel of helping the new parents, with questions and trying to figure out the road moving forward. And he was just having a great time and just nervous. And you're thinking about where you're going to land,
Right.
And he, was told he was going to be anywhere from maybe 2, 3, or 4. And you're sitting there in the green room, and we're getting dressed, and everybody's going to the bus. And, Travis had cut his hair. And then again, like I said, he's 19 years old, and he calls me in my room and he says, Mom, do you have some money for me to pay Travis? I said, Julius, I knew you were going to ask me that. I've already paid Travis. He was like, oh, you have? Yes, I have, Julius. And so, you're the mom.
Of
you know
course.
What's going to happen. You see stuff before it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're nervous, and, we get on the bus, and we get to our table, and the atmosphere is just amazing. And you're just waiting for this moment to happen, and you're nervous. And Julius and I have watched so many games and so many draft moments together. And you see those players sitting at the table with their parents, just waiting to hear their name called. And we got back to that moment of when Julius broke his foot in high school. So when he worked out for NBA teams and he was at the NBA combine, they saw the screw in his foot. And so that kind of, got out there. And so they said, it was probably going to lower his draft. But we were hoping that was going to happen. He would still be in that top 5 range. And so 1, 2, 3 was called. The 4th player was called. And he's kind of looking at me crazy. And, we're nervous. And we've seen, again, players sitting there thinking, when is my name going to be called? And you see that expression on their faces. And the fifth player got called. It wasn't Julius. And he looked at me and he started holding his head down and he said something to me. And I said, stop it. I said, hold your head up. I said, look up and don't say anything. I said, because you're being mic'd and they can probably hear what you're saying. I said, you put a smile on your face. I said, they're going to call your name. And the sixth kid was called. And then the seventh one. And when they called his name, it was just like this sign of relief. And he did this big breathe in and, he was breathing out like, it's happened. And then look at God. He put him with the Lakers, his favorite team.
Yes.
He's getting ready to play with his idol. How awesome is that? Great. We're happy now about the foot and everything else. You got to your favorite team. And we hugged and he ran up on the stage and Kobe sent out a tweet like, all the players do, welcome to the family and stuff. And it was amazing. Now the journey is about to start. And it was an amazing night.
So what was it like for you when you saw him put that Lakers hat on?
About in tears and just overjoyed. And again, like I said, I've seen him, every shoe he had was a Kobe shoe. That's all, Jules is 6'9", 250 pounds. And, he should be wearing a high top shoe, support on the ankles, and all he wanted to wear was those low top Kobe's. And just this, say this moment of he's going to finally be able to meet him and talk to him in person. Wow. And I was so happy for him. The hard work had paid off,
Amen. Did it matter to you, though, which team he was drafted to, or was seeing him in the purple and gold just meant to be?
At first, when we got there, I actually didn't even think about the Lakers. I was just in that moment of we're here. Now, what's about to happen? I had no clue even where all the teams, where their standings were. I didn't even look. I was just in that moment. And when it was the Lakers, it was just, like I said, like a dream come true. How crazy is this? He has all these Kobe jerseys and this is where he's going. This was meant to be. And we was just so happy. There couldn't have been another team at that moment for him.
Yeah. So let's go right into his rookie year. Did you attend his first game?
I did, and I almost didn't. I was working, and I worked in accounting, and it was close to month end, and I had a lot to do. And I was like, Julius, I'm not coming to opening night. I'm going to come that Friday so I can stay through the whole weekend. He was like, no, Mom, it's opening night. You got to come to opening night, Mom. You got to. I was like, okay, forget it. I just bring my laptop with me. Okay,
yeah.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Thank God I did. Because he broke his foot that night.
That's right.
14 minutes of
14
play.
minutes, yep.
Can you imagine as a mom, if I hadn't attended that game and I was at home waiting to come there the weekend and I'm watching the game and my son broke his foot and there is nothing I can do? Who can I get on call on the phone? His fiance was there. I'm trying to, who can I call, get in contact with to find out what's going on with my son? I would have been crazy. So I'm so glad I was there. And when it happened, we're sitting there and the arena just seems like I couldn't hear anybody because I'm looking at him and I'm waiting for that moment of so many times before that if he fell down, he was getting ready to get back up. And the play had, finished and everybody was going down to the other end of the court. Juice was on the floor, like scooting back. And I'm just saying, Julius, get up. Julius, get up. Get up, son. Get up. he wasn't getting up. And I'm like, he's not getting up. He's hurt. He's not getting up. And, they finally stopped the game and everybody ran down there. And I'm like, he's not getting up. It's not right. And I went to AC Green and I said, take me where I need to be. Where are they getting ready to take him? Get me there. Yeah. And my daughter was there and my daughter-in-law, and he took us through the tunnel. And they brought him back. In time, he saw me again, 19 years old. All they know is mama.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing he said was mama, mama. And I ran to him and I knew I had to show strength. I couldn't cry in front of him. Yeah. I had to be strong for him and face whatever it is that we were about to face. And they took him in and they did the x-ray and you could see the fractured bone. The doctor was showing, it was clear. And he was holding to my hand. He's said a few curse words. And here go this mom again. Boy, stop swearing. I don't want to hear another curse word out of you. We're going to get through this, don't say those words. We're going to get through this, And, they took him on to the hospital and I stayed there for a month. It was one of the hardest moments. I had to, and Kendra, we had to accept the things that he was saying, mean things, because he was angry. Yeah. This was his first game. He finally reached his dream of playing in NBA, and it was just taken away from him. It was not going to be like the foot, and he was out 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks. He was out for that whole season. Yeah. And he was just lashing out. And but the Lakers were great. They would not let him give up, and they, sent food over every day. They helped him shower, and then they said, he's not going to sit here and mope. They made him come to practice every day with the team. Nice. And Mitch Kupchak, he was great. He made Julius take notes. You come to the game, you take notes. I want you to tell me what you're seeing, and what could have been done better, watching films and stuff, keeping him engaged in the game, keeping his mind working, feeling a part of the team, even though he wasn't out there on the court. And then his agent, Aaron Mintz, Paul George, that's his agent as well. Paul had just came off that same injury. He was rehabbing. He had just broken his leg like a few months before that. So he had Paul to talk to Julius and talk to him about what he was going to feel, the things that he was going to experience moving forward, and how to cope with that pain, because you're going to have to go through it to be able to get to the next step of your rehab. So, sometimes I say, because he was so young and maybe he hadn't realized a lot of things he needed to do as far as, keeping his body in shape, eating the right things, that I wish he could have played, but maybe it was a blessing because it was a year of experience, because he was 19.
Yeah, still a baby.
He was still a baby. So maybe that was a year for him to rest. Maybe that was a year for him to watch more film, ask more questions from other players, and get him ready for that second year.
With Kobe being his mentor, do you know of any conversations that they had during that time? Like, did Kobe encourage him?
I don't know of any conversations. I know that they did talk a lot. I just tried not to stress him out, asking a lot of questions, unless it was something dealing with the doctor. But I just try to let him mature through that moment because he was a professional now.
That's right.
I couldn't ask all the questions and then relay them to him. He had to do all of that now. He's 19, but he's a
Yeah.
grown man because he has his own job now, and he has to do those things. He has to seek out that information. And so if it was something he wanted to, tell me, he did. But I let him handle that.
Yeah. But eventually he bounced back.
He did.
So, yeah. So let's talk about that triple double at age 21. What was that moment like for him? Because he became the youngest Laker with a triple double since Magic Johnson.
Yeah. It felt like everything that had happened before was like a dream because now everything was going in the right direction.
Yeah.
He could see himself getting to that next level. It was still more work to be done to continue to maintain that triple double. You might not get a triple double every night, but maybe you can get a double double,
Yeah.
and just that feel good moment, that it was all worth it and that I'm here. I've laid down this legacy, this moment with the Lakers that, it's in the books.
Yeah.
They can't forget about it. It's in the books.
Yeah. So after 4 seasons of consistent growth as a player, Julius and the Lakers parted ways when he became an unrestricted free agent and signed with the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
How did that opportunity with the Pelicans come about?
It was open, and he was like looking at other teams, and then Anthony Davis reached out to him. Anthony was still with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So Anthony was his biggest recruiter there. And hey, he's from Kentucky. There's family.
Yeah.
Who you gonna trust? When you trust family, what they say,
right.
and what you could possibly accomplish there. And it was a small market, coming from LA, a big market, but the people were so great there. We met a lot of great people there, and it was a good year there for Julius. He grew. He learned some things. Learn how to pass the ball more and, how to learn how to, get assists. And, Anthony was hurt for a lot of that season. So a lot of things that maybe they talked about of what they wanted to accomplish because the Pelicans, I think just that year before had made it to the playoffs, that first time they had a couple of Kentucky players there. And like I said, with Anthony being hurt and a couple of other players, they didn't reach the dream of what, he and Anthony wanted that year, but it was still a learning experience for him. And it was great.
So it was reported that Julius was offered a $9 million contract extension with the Pelicans, but he declined to make the move to the New York Knicks, where he signed his 3-year, $62 million deal. Mm-hmm. Are you able to talk about any of that, and how amazing was it for you to see him get rewarded for all of his hard work?
I was actually, he was doing his interviews. He said, "Mom, okay, I'm getting ready to go on this interview at 3:00. I'm doing this with New York." And I was like, okay. I was at the park running because I was stressed. So I was trying to get a run in, get my stress level down, what's getting ready to happen. And his agent called me. He said, "Well, I've been talking to him. New York, hey, that's a big city. They don't play in New York and stuff, fans and stuff." And he was like, "That's where he wants to go." He said he wants to go there. This is his first interview. That's where he wants to be. And I was like, okay. And then he walked out of the meeting and he called me. He said, "Mom, it went great." He said, "That's where I'm going." I was like, "Hey, if you happy, I'm happy too," and stuff. And I was like, wow, Aaron told me, what he was going to be signing and stuff. And I was like, this is great. You're finally, getting rewarded. You had a great season last year. Would have been great. You met so many people in New Orleans if you, could have stayed there. But God, again, has other plans for you, and you're in another big market, able to showcase what you can do, and you're getting paid for it. So great.
Absolutely. His steps were ordered to the
Yes.
Knicks, right?
Yes.
So that's right. So we all know that New York is the mecca of basketball.
Mhm.
However, the Knicks have struggled for years, and with that comes the pressure of being a Knick and playing at Madison Square Garden. So, how has he handled the fans and the media?
Last year was rough. Last year was rough. And, he did that interview with the Tribune and poured his heart out.
Yeah.
Um, being a mom, we were talking about this earlier. You read stuff on Twitter, you read stuff on Instagram. They were tearing my baby up.
Hmm.
My heart was just to the floor because I was like, they don't even know him. He
Yeah.
is the most kind, giving person that I know, just the most sweetest personality. And they're just hating on my son, you
Yeah.
know. And again, I never discussed this with Julius. I never said one thing. The only thing that I would do, and I still do to this day, is I text my son after every game, regardless if he wins or if he loses or if I'm at the game.
Yeah.
I text him and he'll get the text when he go to the locker room. All I said was, baby, hold your head up and just keep trying and just go out there and just give your best. It was a lot of pressure, they paid him that money, like he said in that interview, and he never was ever the number one option. And he put a lot of that pressure on himself, trying to go out there and give New York what they deserved. And it was a lot of pressure.
Of
And
course.
it didn't happen the way he foreseed it
Right.
to happen. And so when you're knocked down and things don't happen the way you want it to, you figure it out. You know, what did I do wrong? It's kind of like looking at film after every game, whether you
Yeah.
win or lose. Okay, why didn't I get out there on that player? Or who should have went out there on that player? What could I have done different? Or looking at my shot, my form, okay, it's off. Okay, I need to get in the gym and, work on my trainers and stuff. So actually, in some ways, the pandemic was a great thing for Julius because they didn't make the playoffs, but it gave him time to work and to think. And he came back home here in Dallas. He was here for 7 months. And my son was in the gym 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, then he'd go eat lunch, take time off, work out again. And then he hired this strength and conditioning coach to build up his body to where he could play these 40 something minutes that he plays.
Yeah.
And working on his shot. Jules would shoot the three, but he put the work, he wasn't as good at it as he is now. He put the work in it for those 7 months to bring himself to a different level of play and being able to give New York what he wanted to give them
Yeah.
last year. And God is so good. I could just keep saying God is so good so many times because I stayed on bended knees praying for him. I would just send him texts of prayer. Um, and sometimes you question stuff and they say, you don't question God. Don't question God. He does stuff for a reason. But when you're in the flesh, you can't figure out what that
Yeah.
reason is because all you know is you ask your father for something and you expect him to give it to you.
Right.
But he's preparing you. And I think last year was a year of being prepared, God preparing him to be able to handle this moment. And when it happened, it's amazing. I tell him when I see him smiling on that court when they win, I said, thank God I spent all that money on them braces. I can finally see my
Yeah.
money's worth when I see you smile, you know. And he said, yes, Mama, yes. I'm just so happy for him because I know what he endured. I know the work he put in. I knew what he wanted to give to New York, what he wanted to bring them back to. And this team is just amazing. The coaching staff is amazing. And I just, when God prepares you, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand the pressure it is for these players to
Mhm.
always have to be expected to live up to what the fans really want. They don't know
Yeah.
the pressure on their bodies. They just feel this kid's getting whatever $1 million. So they
Hmm.
automatically, you know what I mean, have this body that's just always prepared to do miracles. And that's
Yeah.
not the case, right? So
Not at all.
it's,
Not at all.
do you have any favorite scriptures that you would text him?
Well, growing up, our favorite scripture was John 10:10. And it's talking about where the devil comes in to kill, steal, and destroy. But I came to give you life.
Right.
And that's our favorite scripture. I remember he was in a Bible study class, and the coach, um, which is the chaplain for the team, he was asking each player. Juice was like in the fifth or sixth grade. What's your favorite scripture? And everybody say Psalms, 23rd Psalm, something like that. Juice popped up with
The
John
Lord is
10
my
and
shepherd.
10.
Yeah.
And he was like, what did this kid know about John 10? But that was our scripture, with
Yeah.
stuff in life when you face things, tragedies, that's the devil trying to come in and kill, steal, and destroy your joy. But you still have God, and He came in to give you life and give it to you abundantly. And it's just believing and waiting for that moment because it's gonna come,
Absolutely.
you know.
You know, believing is what's going to get you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that you're a family of faith. I
Yeah.
was reading a lot of things about your family and reading. I was like, wow, it's just beautiful. You know what I mean? Because it's what
Mm-hmm.
helps people move forward. It helps me get forward. It helps me do better. So I
Yeah.
just love that. And that's why I said, I know she has a scripture that she texted him. So,
Yeah.
so this year he was named an all-star. How
Mhm.
amazing was that for you, Mom?
Totally amazing. When the window opened for us to start voting, we had family groups, okay, it's time to vote. Today is vote counts double, and, just double texting all on Twitter, texting and stuff. And when it looked like it was going to happen, and he had been playing so well, and to have a franchise in a city so behind him, posting stuff, you guys, let's vote for Julius, and, retweet it. I was like, I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And he was just so nervous about it and stuff. And he wanted it so bad. He
Yeah.
wanted it. This was just one of his dreams, he wanted to accomplish. And when, they, put out the total rankings where everyone was, and he was in the 8th spot. And I was like, okay, this is good. And the fans were like, okay, come on, we can do better than 8. Julius needs to be way up there. We can do better than this. And they're just voting, it's just going crazy. And he didn't make the starter. That's okay. And I was like, these 30 coaches have to believe in him, and see what he's done when he's played against them. And they did. And when the Knicks called me, we didn't know yet. And they called me like maybe 2 days before that. They wanted me to do a recording, just congratulating him and just telling me how proud I was of him. And so I kind of had to keep it like, not say congratulations on your all-star because we didn't want to jinx it, So just say how proud I am of you, stuff like that. He had no clue And so that night, they're waiting, they have a game, and then he FaceTimed me, and his agent had already called me. He's in. And my daughter-in-law called me. He's in. And then Julius FaceTimed me, and he was crying. He was like, Mama, we did it. And I was like, yes. I was like, I'm so proud of you. And this is great. And then it was like, I think halftime, he's walking on the court, and then bam, they hit me on the screen saying, Julius, surprise. And he was like, whoa, what? And he had the biggest smile on his face when he saw me up there congratulating him. And we was just so happy, just thank the city for all the support that they had, given him. It was like last year was a blur, this year was just so amazing. And, I almost didn't go because I'm diabetic, and dealing with this pandemic, they was, talking about people with underlying diseases and, getting the COVID. And 2020 was hard. I'm used to going to almost all of his games. My mom had just passed, and now, I'm shut in without my family. Jules is in New York. My daughter, she lives like an hour away, but they're trying to protect me. And, I got my shot, and he said, Mom, I know how things are and you're nervous. He said, if you don't want to go, he said, I'm not going to pressure you. He said, I'm just going to keep working hard every day. And he said, hopefully, next year sometime I'll make it again. And so I was like, okay. He said, just think about it. And so I had to talk to a friend of mine that's a therapist. And he said to me, I'm going to talk to you like a man of God, and then I'm going to talk to you as your friend. He said, you believe in God. And he said, what God has for you is for you. He said, you have to have faith that he is protecting you. He said, secondly, you and your son have worked hard through all these years as as a kid up until this moment. This is a great moment for you. We might not live to see tomorrow. We might not live to see next year. You have the protection of God over you. You go and enjoy your son's moment. And the NBA made it so perfect because I didn't want to fly commercial and be around all these people. And they had us on private jets. Girl, they had us on a private jet. And
I'll tell you my story later.
Yes. And then, they booked the whole hotel, and we had all this food. I forgot all about my diabetes. I was eating oatmeal cookies and everything, enjoying the moment.
Getting the sugar.
Yes. And I'm so glad I went. It was so wonderful to see him out there accomplishing another dream.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy that you were able to go. I really am. I mean, it's such a blessing, right? When you see your kids do so well, and it's even better when you're there live. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're breathing the same air that they're breathing, and you're just doing it all with them.
You're able to touch them. You're able to take pictures with them on the court.
Yeah. Not on TV or days later. No, same moment. Beautiful. So your baby's been on fire and was recently named the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. The Knicks have won 8 straight, and the fandom in New York City is back. So how are you feeling about the postseason?
Happy. I'm like, I'm watching every game, and I'm like sitting on the ottoman in front of the TV, just watching every play, and just, what, it's amazing. And him making, that accomplishment, another one again and stuff, is just due to his hard work and, the coaches and media, everybody acknowledging, how well he's doing and what he's giving to his team. And just like he said, when your team is winning and doing well as a whole, then everyone else can see you then. They can see everyone on the team, what you bring to the team. It's hard for anyone to pay attention to you when you're losing, they just toss you to the side. But when you're winning and you got another W, and stuff, it was like, okay, what's going on over here in the city? Oh my gosh, they are just over the top. You know, when you winning, those are the best fans. I mean, New York fans will, hey, they'll rally behind you, and
Oh, yeah.
they are crazy.
You have a lot of friends when you're winning. So
Yeah, you're right. When you're winning, a lot of friends.
everybody loves you. So,
Yes.
what is one thing as mom you feel you've contributed to Julius's success to date?
You know, I can't even talk about it being basketball. Julius, what I'm most proud of Julius is the man that he has become.
Yeah.
The dad, he is just such a wonderful, wonderful dad, wonderful husband. Um, he doesn't want, he's on the road. If it's 1 or 2 days, fine, but if it's anything more than that, he wants his family right there with him, um, traveling with him, because he doesn't want to be apart from them. Um, I'm so proud of him. He gives so much time out to his family, and his son. They have such a great relationship, and he tries to watch everything he does, because Kyton mimics everything he does on the court. You know, he got his little jab step down, or if Julius is fussing at the ref. One time I was there and Kim was like, he's fussing at the ref, Julius. And okay, Julius, you got to stop fussing at the ref because he sees what you're doing. You know?
I think it's so cute.
But he's such an amazing dad. I can't begin to talk about it, you know, put it into words, just how proud that makes me of him. Because again, I was a single parent. So Jules knows what he didn't have with him and what he wanted. And so he knows how to give that to Kyden so he doesn't miss anything.
Yeah. I was watching a video with him and Kyden playing, and Julius did this introduction.
Yeah.
And he's like, here comes Carolyn Randle. He was like, number 30. So speaking of number 30, how proud are you that he chose to wear the very same number that you graced the court with?
I love it. He asked me about that number. I think maybe he was like maybe 6 or 7. He had been wearing Kobe's number 8. And I was in the kitchen cooking, and he came in. He said, Mom, what was your number when you played in college? What did you wear? I said, number 30. Why? He said, can I have it? I said, well, if you're going to do something with it, yeah, but if you're not, leave my number alone. Okay.
Take 29.
Yeah. So I tell everybody when they ask me that question, I tell them the story. I said, I guess he's done something with it. He done more with it, you know, than I did. So,
look,
you know,
where
that's
he is
our
now,
number.
Mama. That's right. Look where he is now. So
and now it's Kyden's number.
That's
you
right.
know, and so one time somebody tried to get him to change the number. They was like, Carolyn, can you change his number to my number? It was a coach. And I was like, no, you know, you go to your kids and let your kids wear their number. This is our legacy right here. He's wearing my number.
See you, bye. So now let's learn some fun facts about Julius. Okay. So what was Julius's go-to dish you make that he must always have?
He loved the baked chicken breasts I used to make, and stuffed baked potato with all the stuff in it, bacon bits. And I couldn't just put the bacon bits and cheese all on top. I had to mix it all in for him and have it, you know, prepared for him already. He didn't want to do all that. I had to do it for him. Spoiled.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like a restaurant at home.
Yeah.
So what is one childhood item he couldn't live without other than a basketball?
One childhood item. Well, he liked his PlayStation. Yeah. Yes. The PlayStation.
You know what? I think I'm going to switch that question up next interview. We had to add
it the same way.
Yes, we added other than a basketball because everybody was saying basketball and now everybody's saying PlayStation.
Yeah.
I love it. And when we take that out, they're going to say Xbox, maybe. So
yeah.
Did he have a nickname? And if so, what was it?
Well, we still call him this today. We instead of just Julius, Julius is when I'm serious. Julius, but most of the time we just say Jew or Juju.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now we're gonna ask you some advice questions. Okay.
Okay.
So, what advice would you give to another courtside mom about dealing with a coaching decision that she did not agree with?
To stay out of it. To stay out of it. This is not high school. This is not AAU. This is your son's job. Okay. If your son worked for corporate America, would you go in there and say something to his boss that he did something to your son that you didn't like? No. Stay out of it and leave it between your son and that coach.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a player on how to deal with a tough teammate?
Try to talk it out. Try to, get together and talk about what it is that maybe you don't agree with each other on, because you got to play with that player. And you don't want to take that stuff out on the court because it affects your game. You might feel like when that player come out there, oh, here he come, I got to play with him. You don't want that feeling, out there, that negativeness out there, negativeness on your team. You want everybody to be able to get along and pulling for each other. So I would suggest that, you tell your son to, get with that player and just let them talk it out and get to an understanding.
Absolutely. And last question. If you could give only one piece of advice to another courtside mom, what would it be?
Enjoy the moment. It goes by so fast. Enjoy the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Carolyn, you are a joy.
Oh, I'm so glad to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on Courtside Moms. You really, really just made my day. And I'm so blessed that I had this opportunity to learn a lot about Julius and your family. You guys are just wonderful. You truly are.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You want done, baby. I do it naturally.